Chapter 5277. The June family's soaring cloud body is also an excellent cultivation body, but it's a bit worse than the heavenly mandate body. The heavens are fair. Although the soaring cloud body can't compare to the heavenly mandate body, the possibility of the soaring cloud body appearing is much higher than the heavenly mandate body. It's because of this that the June family has been trying to replace us and complete the cooperation with the Xiao family. This way, the secret territory will be opened by them, and they will gain more benefits. Since the Xiao family is a threat to us, why didn't we just leave them out when we joined forces with them? Because the opening of the secret territory requires the holy stones of the three families. This secret territory was discovered by the ancestors of our three families together, so we made this agreement. Previously, because we had been working with the Xiao family, the June family was suppressed, so they were dissatisfied and wanted to destroy us. All these years, we have been guarding against them, but we didn't expect them to succeed this time. Dujua's expression was complicated. At this point, he didn't think about the reason for the destruction. However, once the two families joined forces, it wouldn't be easy for them to get their share in the future. So that's how it is. Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood. No wonder Dujua was so polite to Xiao Yanlong. It turned out that there was such a reason. Father, I heard that this secret territory hasn't been opened for many years. Maybe it won't open this time, so we don't have to worry so much. Di Xiaofeng's eyes were filled with thoughts. Although this wasn't good news, it wasn't urgent. There was still a way. Originally, we also thought that we wouldn't be able to open it for a while, but the situation this time is very special. Dujua frowned. His handsome face was complicated and worried. All these years, the secret territory hasn't been able to open, but since Beichen was born, we felt that the opportunity to open it might appear again. When he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but look at Di Beichen. Indeed, the Di family hadn't had a physique of heaven's will for many years, and Di Beichen was the only one. What's more, Di Beichen had disappeared for so many years, and then came back. Perhaps this was really fate. Not only that, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Suo both meet the requirements, so we think that we might really succeed this time. Our family's power of inheritance has already dissipated to the point that there isn't much left. If we can really open the inheritance, it will undoubtedly be of great help to our family. However, if we are not the ones to open it, then the distribution will be up to them. Dujua's expression was complicated. The Jun family had been eyeing the Di family covetously all these years, trying to shake their position. Once the land of heritage was opened, the Jun family would definitely not let go of this opportunity. It would not be beneficial to them if they were to keep this up. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two also fell into silence. This situation was indeed very complicated, and it would be very difficult to change it. Father, what is the use of the radiant body? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. Chapter 5278. Hearing Dujua's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. If it's another light attribute cultivator, will it work? Only now did she understand the relationship between the Di family and the Xiao family. It was no wonder that Dujua had been trying his best to mend the relationship between the two families. Although they still didn't know what the use of the inheritance was, they knew that it would be of great help to the Di family. Moreover, this power would affect the entire family. It was extremely important. If the decision-making power fell into the hands of the Xiao family and the Jun family, their benefits would be greatly reduced. This wasn't a situation they wanted to see. The Jun family had always been ambitious. If the Di family grew, it would be extremely disadvantageous to them. Actually, we've tried this before, but we've never succeeded. Dujua understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant. His daughter-in-law had the light attribute, and her talent was extremely strong, comparable to Xiao Suo. However, in the history of the Di family, it had always been an alliance with the Xiao family. In the process, they had tried other methods. Not only them, but the Jun family had also tried. However, no one had succeeded. In the end, they chose to accept their fate. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' hearts sank. If all other possibilities were cut off, It would be really terrible. Father, what if the holy maiden isn't from the Xiao family? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Her clear and pleasant voice sounded again. Di Yujue was slightly stunned. Father, if the holy maiden isn't from the Xiao family, then will the blood of the holy maiden be effective? Di Beichen immediately understood Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. Di Yujue fell into deep thought. Actually, the most important thing about this blood is the power of light. The power of the saintess is undoubtedly the purest. I think it should be possible, but I will have to try it out to know the specifics. There is no guarantee that it will succeed. There had only been one holy maiden of the light since the beginning, and she was from the Xiao family, so they had never thought about it. However, after being mentioned like this, Diyu felt that it was extremely possible. After receiving this answer, the corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth suddenly curled up into a playful and confident smile, revealing a hint of wickedness and beauty. Looks like I have to snatch the position of the holy maiden of the light. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Yujue and Di Xiaofeng were both shocked. They had also proposed this before, but Bailey Hongzhuang directly rejected it. Therefore, they didn't continue to think about it. They didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to make such a decision at this moment. Hongzhuang, I'm afraid it's a bit late now. Di Yujue frowned. He was naturally very pleased that Bailey Hongzhuang was willing to consider the interests of the family. However, the situation now is different from before. Previously, Xiao Soa was unable to become the true holy maiden of the light. Now that she has met the requirements, it won't be easy to snatch the position of the holy maiden of the light. The Xiao family wasn't incompetent. They would definitely not allow others to shake Xiao Soa's position. Moreover, Xiao Soa's master was the vice president of the Holy Assembly. The reason why she could reach this step was because of Tang Yunshu's full support. Chapter 5279. Di Xiaofeng frowned with worry. Based on her performance in the Immortal Cloud Secret Realm, Xiao Soa was indeed no match for Bailey Hongzhuang. However, their family did not have much contact with the Holy Light Assembly, so they did not know what the situation was like. In comparison, the Xiao family clearly had the upper hand. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to take back the position of the Holy Maiden, it would not be easy. The situation now is indeed very difficult. Di Xiaofeng said in a low voice that Xiao Soa must have felt the threat from Hongzhuang, which is why she wanted to complete all of this in such a short time. He had seen Xiao Soa's reaction very clearly. She was determined to get the position of the Holy Maiden, and would not allow anyone to take it away from her. Now that the news had spread, it could be said that it was a done deal. She must be extremely pleased with herself now. Looking at the worried looks on their faces, Bailey Hongzhuang did not lose her confidence. Compared to Xiao Soa, she had received the true inheritance of the Holy Maiden. She believed that since she was able to defeat Xiao Soa outside the remains, she would be able to do the same in the fight for the position of the Holy Maiden. Father, will this ceremony be held in front of everyone? Di Yujue nodded. That's right. This is an extremely important ceremony for the Holy Light Assembly. They have specially invited many forces to observe it. Our family will be there as well. Then we will go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her ink-black phoenix eyes sparkled with a deep and resplendent light. She would definitely take it back with her own hands. Xiao Soa, you can be happy for now. The Holy Maiden was her master. As her disciple, she naturally could not tarnish her master's reputation. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had no intention of giving up, Di Yujue wanted to persuade her. In this kind of situation, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. He did not really care about the result. He only hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would not be disappointed. Father, we have to believe in Hongzhuang's ability. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint, confident smile. Others might not know, but he was well aware of his wife's ability. Looking at Di Beichen's confident appearance, Di Yujue and Di Xiaofeng looked at each other. Their doubts lessened a bit, and a trace of a smile appeared on their faces. Since they were so confident, that was a good thing. After leaving Di Yujue's residence, Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but ask, Hongzhuang, are you really that confident? This wasn't a simple matter. All along, The Xiao family has the most light attribute cultivators, so their relationship with the Radiant Sacred Assembly is not ordinary. Even the main assembly of the Radiant Sacred Assembly is located not far from the Xiao family in the Piercing Wind City. That's nothing, Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. This kind of thing should be based on ability, not relationship, right? If it was based on relationship, Xiao Sou would have already become the Holy Maiden. Di Beichen said faintly, looking at the two people in front of him who did not seem to care. Di Xiaofeng was completely convinced. It seemed that these two people had already made up their minds. He did not need to say anything more. Where is Yin Yan? She is at a place not far from Dr. Wu's residence. You can go and find her. As for how to settle her down, that is up to you. Chapter 5280. After returning to the room, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's expressions became more serious and dignified. They had listened to Di Yujue and Di Xiaofeng's reminders, but they still believed that there was a way to solve it. Wife, Xiao Sou is determined to get this position. I'm afraid it'll be a bit troublesome for us to take it away. His deep, dark eyes revealed a thoughtful light. Whether it's your talent or understanding of the light attribute, you surpass Xiao Sou. I believe there won't be any problems in this regard, but I'm afraid that the vice president won't be easy to deal with. Once they control the situation during the ceremony, it won't be easy for us to destroy it. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This is also what I'm most worried about. Even if she had checked the notes, it was only some records of the Holy Assembly. There was no introduction to the ceremony and requirements of the Holy Maiden of Light. If they wanted to completely mess up this matter, they must first understand some things. Now that they had determined their goal, the Di family was the family they had to protect. No matter what, they couldn't let the other families have the slightest chance. The Jun family and the Xiao family now regarded them as mortal enemies. Once they developed, they would fall into a terrible situation. For the people they cared about, the position of the Holy Maiden of Light must be snatched. Bai Liyan Che and Ling also came out of the Chaos Ring. They already knew the two's plan. Sister, I support you in snatching the position of the Holy Maiden of Light. Bai Liyan Che's purple eyes rippled with a demonic and firm luster. This position originally belonged to you. Linger also nodded, her eyes revealing ridicule and disdain. That Xiao Sou actually has the nerve to claim that she's the Holy Maiden of Light? She doesn't even look at her own qualifications. I think these guys from the upper realm are simply insulting the name of the Holy Maiden of Light. She had been very dissatisfied with this matter for a long time. What ability did the original owner have? Even if she was the next Holy Maiden of Light, she had to at least meet the requirements. With Xiao Sou's aptitude, she was not qualified at all, okay? Looking at Linger's indignant look, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen couldn't help but chuckle. If Xiao Sou knew that she was despised like this, she would definitely be depressed to death. Sister, since you want to snatch the position of the Holy Maiden of the Light, I think you should first understand the situation. If we don't understand the situation well enough, many things will be tied down. Bai Liyan Che had a serious look on his face. Only when they understood the specific process would they be able to make their move. At the very least, we need to know the real requirements to become the Holy Maiden of Light. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I think so too. She had to be sure that she had the ability to defeat Xiao Sou and become the Saintess of the Light. Only then would she have the confidence to show up. Otherwise, she would only bring trouble to the Di family. If she didn't have enough power, she would just be playing to the gallery. Instead, it would be used against her. She subconsciously looked at Di Beichen. With just one look, Di Beichen had already understood what she meant. He immediately said, "Wife, why don't we make a trip to the Piercing Wind City first? That would be great. The succession ceremony of the Holy Maiden of Light will be held next month. Father, and the rest will probably leave in a few days. Why don't we leave first?" Chapter 5281. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Let's do as you say. After making the decision, the two of them did not delay and left the room in the blink of an eye. This kind of thing should be done sooner rather than later. They had to understand the situation as soon as possible, so that they could make a good plan. Bewitching went to Yujua's residence again. He had to tell Yujua his plan, so that he could explain it to him. Hongzhuang, you're here. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, Shengguaninging smiled. She looked behind her, and found Bewitching's figure was not there. She felt strange. Why are you here alone? Where's Beichen? He has something to tell the head of the family, so he won't be here for the time being. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and looked at Ao Lingxiao. Lingxiao, how have you been recently? Of course I've been well here. Ao Lingxiao smiled. I've been in seclusion for a while and haven't gone out. That's good. I've made quite a bit of progress recently. My cultivation speed here is really fast. Ao Lingxiao's eyes were filled with joy and satisfaction. As of now, this was simply the best place for cultivation. In the past, his cultivation environment was not so good. Not only was the vitality rich, but after his aptitude had improved, his cultivation speed was twice as good with half the effort. In addition, the day of his return to the family was getting closer and closer. He had a lot of goals. I'm here this time to tell everyone something. What is it? Mo Yunjue noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's slightly serious expression and asked with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately told everyone the two news that she had just heard. Hearing this, everyone's eyes widened. Xiao Sou actually got engaged to Jun Lingshuan so quickly? She's really not reserved at all. Shengguan Yingying was secretly speechless. This guy had fallen in love with Beichen at first sight. The speed of his change of heart was too fast. Whether it's them or the two families, I'm afraid they can't wait to bring them together. This situation isn't strange. Mo Yunjue's expression was mild. However, Xiao Sou actually has the right to become the Saint of Light. Could it be because she comprehended the Holy Tablet of Light? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I can't think of any other reason. This guy is really lucky. Shengguan Yingying's face was full of dissatisfaction. He got lucky. Why do I feel so unhappy? I don't feel happy either. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled as a vicious look appeared in her eyes. That's why I've decided to take back the position of the Holy Maiden. Just as she finished speaking, everyone's eyes fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang in unison. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Hongzhuang, you finally thought it through. Shengguan Yingying jumped up in surprise. This is great. You're so much better than Xiao Sou. This position should belong to you. You're not worried about that problem anymore. Mo Yunjue stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew very well what Bailey Hongzhuang had been worried about, but he never thought that she would suddenly change her mind. I'm not worried anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her red lips. This matter involves the family's interests, so we have to do this. As long as it's your decision, we'll support it. Chapter 5282. This time, we are going there mainly to find out about the process of the succession ceremony and the requirements to become the Holy Maiden. The Piercing Wind City is very close to the Xiao family, and Xiao Sou has already been appointed as the next Holy Maiden. I believe that the entire Piercing Wind City belongs to them. If too many people go there, they will easily discover us. Beichen and I plan to go there first. Therefore, you guys will have to wait for a few days before going to the Piercing Wind City with Xiao Feng and the rest. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little apologetic. Usually, they would travel together, but this time, she and Beichen would have to travel alone. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, when Ziren could not help but wave his hand, I thought it was something big. So it's just a small matter. The two of you can go first. It doesn't matter if we go later. That's right. Anyway, we won't be of any use if we go early. You guys don't have to worry about us. I knew you guys would have such a reaction. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. With such a group of friends who would support them no matter what, she was very satisfied. There are only two of you on this trip. You must be extra careful. Mo Yunjue said slowly. His deep black eyes were filled with worry. Xiao Sou has already treated you as a thorn in her side. The same goes for the Jun family. If they find out that you guys are alone, they might take the opportunity to attack you. Don't worry, we will be very careful. Since everyone has said everything that needs to be said, I wish you all success. Ao Lingxiao smiled. You must snatch the title of Holy Maiden of Light. I think you are the real Holy Maiden of Light. After explaining everything, Bewitching also settled everything. The two of them went to visit their grandparents and mother, before embarking on the journey to the Piercing Wind City. As the D family and the Xiao family had always had a close relationship, they had built a teleportation array to the Piercing Wind City not far away. Hence, the two of them arrived at the Piercing Wind City very quickly. Looking at the majestic city gate in the distance, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but sigh. It is indeed the location of the Holy Light Assembly. The scale of the Piercing Wind City is much bigger than the cities we have seen before. Indeed, Bewitching nodded his head. Look at the queue at the city gate. The Piercing Wind City is not just bustling with activity. This is a big city to begin with, and there's already a lot of people here. Plus, the Saintess succession ceremony is going to be held next month. I'm sure everyone has heard the news and come here. I reckon that a lot of people are taking advantage of this opportunity to come to the market. When there are a lot of people, there will be a lot of treasures. We can take a look on the way. After seeing the underground market in Qishui City, Bailey Hongzhuang learned more about these situations from Lin Yi. Whenever a lively event was held somewhere, there would always be such a market. Listen to my wife. Bewitching smiled slightly and said. After the two of them walked into the city, they found that the situation was more lively than they thought. There was an endless stream of pedestrians. Sometimes they could see a large team. Obviously, a certain force had arrived in advance. Chapter 5283. Walking on the wide road, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching first went to where the Holy Light Assembly was located. From afar, they could see the bright and resplendent building of the Holy Light Assembly. When the surrounding pedestrians looked over, they could not help but reveal an envious look in their eyes. In the upper realm, Holy Light cultivators were undoubtedly the most envied. The two of them only looked around the periphery, but did not enter. Perhaps Xiao Soul was in the Holy Light Assembly, and they would be discovered as soon as they entered. However, the two of them also paid attention to the Holy Light cultivators entering and exiting. If they wanted to understand the situation, the best way was to find out from the people of the Holy Light Assembly. We have to choose a target and then bribe them. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the cultivators walking out from inside and kept thinking about who to choose as a target. Young cultivators were not a good target because they had only just come into contact with the Holy Light Assembly and would not know the real situation inside. As for the higher-ups who truly understood the situation, they would not be so easily bribed. Therefore, it was not easy to choose a target. Bewitching, let's go to that restaurant and have a seat. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed to a restaurant not far away. Sitting by the window on the second floor of the restaurant, they would be able to see the pedestrians entering the Holy Light Assembly. Bewitching turned to look and understood Bailey Hongzhuang's idea. He smiled and nodded. All right. After entering the restaurant, the two of them did not attract anyone's attention. They sat down by the window and ordered some dishes. Master, we don't know much about the people of the Holy Light Assembly. How do we know who to target? Xiaohei frowned. It looked at them for a long time and felt that none of them were suitable. Be patient and wait a little longer. Bailey Hongzhuang stroked Xiaohei's head. The furry feeling was really comfortable. This period of time is extremely important for the Holy Light Assembly. I'm sure many of the higher-ups will be coming in and out. Let's wait a little longer, and we'll find a suitable candidate. Besides, even if I can't find it, I can still ask around. Bewitching raised his eyebrows and looked at a table not far from them. As expected, the other party was talking about the Holy Light Assembly. Xiao Sou has been trying to become the next Saintess of the Light all these years, but she has never succeeded. Now she is finally going to succeed. Right now the Xiao family is in the limelight. The Jun family and the Xiao family are connected by marriage. Their status in the future will be extraordinary. Speaking of which, the young master of the D family is at a disadvantage. I heard that Xiao Soa likes him, but Bewitching only has his wife in his heart. I really admire him for rejecting her. So what? I heard that her light energy is even more powerful than Xiao Soa's. Xiao So is currently on guard against her. Are you serious? Is there anyone better than Xiao So in this aspect? Of course it's true. Hearing this person's conversation, the cultivator at the table next to him walked over and slammed the table. Bang! What nonsense are you talking about? Our Lady is the saintess of the Holy Light Assembly. How can she be inferior to that nuisance Bailey Hongzhuang? The man's face suddenly changed. He quickly cupped his fists and said, Big brother, I'm talking nonsense. Please forgive me. Don't talk nonsense like this in the future. Chapter 5284. After a series of warnings, the two of them who were chatting happily suddenly became like frosted eggplants. They did not dare to speak anymore, and quickly found an excuse to leave. If they continued to stay here, it would be like sitting on pins and needles. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. It seemed that the piercing wind city was indeed the world of the Xiao family. From the aura of these people from the Xiao family, one could tell that they could do whatever they wanted in this place. When the few cultivators from the Xiao family saw that the two of them had left, their faces were filled with pride. They immediately sat down at the seats that the two of them had been sitting at, called for the waiter, and ordered a table full of good wine and dishes. These two fellows really don't know what's good for them. They actually dared to speak ill of our eldest young mistress. Aren't they courting death? Isn't that right? Our eldest young mistress is about to become the true holy maiden of light. How can that Bailey Hongzhuang be compared to her? I think the young master of the Di family must be blind to make such a wrong decision. Many people say that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent in the light attribute can be compared to our eldest young mistress. I don't believe it at all. Others may not know, but how can we not know? Our Xiao family's deities, lake has a cleansing effect on light attribute cultivators. Light attribute cultivators from other places simply cannot be compared to us. Come. Why bother with those stupid fellows? They have not seen the world and think that they are so great just because they heard a few false rumors. In reality, they are just fools. Let's drink. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other after hearing this conversation. They finally understood what they did not understand. No wonder Father said that only the blood of the Xiao family's cultivators could be used to open the deity's lake. It turns out that their family has such a special deity's lake. Bailey Hongzhuang's dark and bright eyes flashed with understanding. She knew that she had completely understood everything. Beichen, if this is the real problem, then even if I become the Holy Maiden of Light, I'm afraid it won't be of any use? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. This was not good news for them. Di Beichen also fell into deep thought. Since Father said that it would be effective, there must be a reason. Let's understand the situation first. Moreover, do you remember that we also soaked in the pool water in Senior White's ruins? As Di Beichen's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly narrowed. She immediately understood. You mean the pool water? Di Beichen nodded. The water in the pool has been purifying our bodies. Whether it is our body or our strength, it has been purified by the purification. Speaking of which, Senior White is the real Holy Maiden of the Light. In terms of inheritance, her inheritance is definitely not weaker than that of the Xiao family. Bailey Hongzhuang's mood suddenly relaxed. She originally thought that this situation was very tricky, but after understanding this point, she suddenly felt that everything was full of hope. The Xiao family also has a deity's lake. Master's inheritance also has a deity's lake. Could there be a connection between the two? Or is it really just a coincidence? Bailey Hongzhuang was a little confused. This was too much of a coincidence. Even the effects were the same. Di Beichen smiled and said, If we have the chance, we will know when we take a look at the Xiao family's deity's lake. That's the inheritance of the Xiao family. How can an outsider casually see it? Chapter 5285. Upon hearing Di Beichen's nonchalant words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but stare closely at his face. From his expression, she knew that Di Beichen wasn't joking and was speaking the truth. Actually, it'd be good to have a look if we have the chance. She had a feeling that the Xiao family's inheritance was somehow related to the deity's lake that she had seen in her master's ruins. However, she couldn't quite put her finger on it. The two of them didn't continue their conversation. If the people at the next table overheard their conversation, it would inevitably cause more trouble. The most important thing for them now was to find the right person to inquire about the situation. Only then would they be able to deal with the situation. "Master, look over there." Just then, Xiao Hei's surprised voice suddenly rang out. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and was surprised to see a familiar figure. "I didn't think that I'd meet an acquaintance so soon." Bewitching turned around and glanced at the figure before retracting his gaze without batting an eyelid. "It's Jiang Wenyan." "That's right, they're really early. There's still a month before the ceremony." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. Previously, she had used an immortal spirit pill to exchange for the beast spirit fruit from Jiang Wenyan. She had a very good impression of Jiang Wenyan. At the very least, he was an open and magnanimous person. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Hei were sizing up Jiang Wenyan's gaze also fell upon the two of them. "Beichen, Jiang Wenyan is actually walking towards us. Could it be that he's recognized us?" Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. Actually, they hadn't interacted much apart from the time they had met on the flying magic weapon. Could it be that this fellow has recognized our aura? Wasn't this a little too amazing? Jiang Wenyan walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Hei. His handsome face carried a faint, refined smile. "I didn't think that we'd meet again." The few cultivators from the Jiang family were also shocked when they saw Jiang Wenyan's actions. They did not remember when their young lord knew these two people. However, Jiang Wenyan's hand gesture stopped them from moving forward, so they sat down where they were. Although they were recognized by Jiang Wenyan, Bailey Hongzhuang were a little surprised, but they did not panic. As the young master, he had some ability after all. Even if he could recognize it, it was not a big deal. "Young Master Jiang, it seems that we are fated to meet," Bewitching said slowly. "Do you mind if I sit down?" "Of course." Jiang Wenyan took the opportunity to sit down and looked out of the window again. Then, he calmly withdrew his gaze and understood something in his heart. "Aren't you too surprised that I recognized you? If young Master Jiang is willing to tell us, we are also very willing to understand." Bewitching's expression was calm. He picked up his tea and took a small sip. His every movement exuded the demeanor of a great master. Jiang Wenyan smiled. "Actually, I recognized Miss Bailey's aura. We had made a deal before, so I carefully sensed it. Of course, there are many people who pay attention to a peerless beauty like Miss Bailey." "Young Master Jiang, you really know how to joke." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a small smile. She understood in her heart. When she had given the immortal spirit pill to Jiang Wenyan had paid a lot of attention to her. It was not strange that he remembered her aura. Chapter 5286. "Actually, it's not a big deal that I recognized you. Ever since the previous incident, we are already friends, right?" His gentle and elegant face was filled with a gentle smile, and his gentle tone was filled with sincerity, making people unconsciously let down their guard. "Of course we are friends." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a smile. "Since that's the case, I'll get straight to the point." Jiang Wenyan looked out of the window. "I can roughly guess the purpose of the two of you coming to the Piercing Wind City so early. If you want to understand the situation of the Holy Assembly, or the Holy Maiden, that person might be your breakthrough point." Hearing Jiang Wenyan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching both looked out of the window. At this moment, there was a middle-aged man standing outside the gate of the Holy Assembly. He was wearing the deacon's robe that was unique to the Holy Assembly, and he looked like he had a high status. After quietly memorizing this person's appearance in their hearts, the two of them quietly withdrew their gazes, still maintaining their calm and collected appearance. This person is Deacon Shi Hongqiao of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Originally, his position could have been promoted this time, but because Xiao Sou is about to become the saintess of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, the Xiao family's power in the Radiant Sacred Assembly has reached the peak. Perhaps the head of the Xiao clan wanted to cultivate more of his confidence here. So he placed another member of the Xiao clan in the Holy Light Assembly and took away the position that originally belonged to him. If we are wrong, Shi Hongqiao should be filled with resentment towards the Xiao family now. Using this situation, you guys are undoubtedly the most suitable person to look for him. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. The person they wanted to look for was in a similar situation. However, they did not expect Jiang Wenyan to help them identify the target. This situation was a little strange. Young Master Jiang, may I ask, why are you telling us this? Di Beichen stared at Jiang Wenyan with his deep eyes, and suddenly felt that he could not see through this guy. It didn't matter if he had recognized them directly, or if he had already known their plans, or if he had even chosen a target for them. Actually, I only found out about this situation by chance. I just thought that you might want to know more about it. Of course, I also have some selfish motives. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Jiang Wenyan. After suddenly telling them so many things, they would find it strange if there were no private messages. Actually, I can see that the two of you will achieve great things in the future, so I want to be on good terms with the two of you. Since we are friends, I have to show my sincerity. Jiang Wenyan looked at the two of them with a smile, her jade-like face devoid of any schemes. Of course, I personally feel that Miss Bailey is more suitable to be the Holy Maiden of Light. Knowing that his words could not dispel their concerns, Jiang Wenyan continued. As far as I know, the two of you treat your friends with sincerity. This humble servant envies this kind of friendship the most. In fact, when you helped Ao Lingxiao, I had already noticed you. I've always admired gentlemen. Following Jiang Wenyan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were both shocked and pleasantly surprised. Jiang Wenyan spoke very sincerely, and could not find any problems. If it was true, they would naturally be very happy. Chapter 5287. My apologies for disturbing you today. I'll take my leave now. I hope that you can feel my sincerity the next time we meet. Jiang Wenyan didn't stay for long. He understood that anyone would have to think carefully about his rash visit. As a young master, no one was easy to deal with. Building trust wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. As Jiang Wenyan left, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other with complicated feelings. Beichen, do you think Jiang Wenyan's words are trustworthy? Di Beichen didn't answer. Instead, he looked out of the window and said, at least he didn't lie to us about Shi Hongqiao. Master, I think this Jiang Wenyan seems quite nice. It'd be nice if we could make more friends. Xiao He looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion. She felt that the atmosphere between her two masters was a bit too heavy. If he really wants to be friends with us, that's good. However, he's too smart. He only glanced out of the window casually, and already guessed all our plans. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was low. When dealing with someone who was too smart, they should either make him one of their own, or keep him at a respectful distance. If he was an enemy, then he must be killed as soon as possible. As for Jiang Wenyan, they had to figure out whether he was an enemy or a friend. I agree with you. This Jiang Wenyan is very smart. Di Beichen nodded slightly. It's said that the head of the Jiang family was originally his elder brother. Later on, it fell into his hands for some reason. Looking at it now, this result isn't strange at all. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. He's so smart. Naturally, his methods aren't comparable to others. However, the head of the Jiang family, making him the young master, is indeed a wise decision. Beichen, how's the relationship between your family and the Jiang family? This was the most important basis for their judgment. As far as I know, our family doesn't have much contact with the Jiang family. We don't have much interaction, so there shouldn't be any conflicts. Di Beichen had a thoughtful look in his eyes. He had gained a better understanding of his family's situation after his return, but there were still many things that he wasn't very clear about. Since the Jiang family didn't have much contact with them, he didn't pay too much attention to it. There's no need to rush this matter. When father and the others arrive, we'll naturally know. If we can really become friends, that would be a good thing. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Until now, she didn't have any ill feelings towards Jiang Wenyan. Moreover, a smart friend would be of great help to them. Let's not talk about that for now. The most important thing for us now is to understand Shi Hongqiao. Beichen's eyes were deep and serene. Everything else could be put aside for now. The most important thing now was to understand the Holy Light Assembly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head and smiled faintly. Indeed. The night was dark and deep. When Shi Hongqiao returned to the house, he had just opened the door when a hand had already restrained him. Who's there? Shi Hongqiao shouted in horror. I've already given you the position of deacon. What are you still dissatisfied with? Don't tell me you want to put me to death? His roar was filled with anger and hysteria. Shi Hongqiao resisted with all his might, and even wanted to perish together with the other party. Chapter 5288. Just as Shi Hongqiao was struggling with all his might, the candles in the room were lit. Shi Hongqiao looked at the two unfamiliar figures in front of him, and narrowed his eyes. His expression was ferocious and furious. Is there no one else in the Xiao family? They actually sent you two little fellows to deal with me? In the next moment, Shi Hongqiao moved his body, and quickly broke free from Beichen's grip. If you want to deal with me with this little trick, it's not enough. Seeing how agile Shi Hongqiao was, Bailey Hongzhuang and Beichen were not surprised. Since Shi Hongqiao had the ability to become a deacon of the Holy Assembly, his strength was naturally not to be underestimated. If he was easily subdued by them, it proved that the information they received was wrong. Deacon Shi, you've misunderstood. We're not from the Xiao family. Not from the Xiao family? Shi Hongqiao chuckled. Do you think I'll believe you? Now only your Xiao family wants to deal with me. I'll kill you first and collect some interest. A surging murderous aura exploded and Shi Hongqiao's attack arrived in the blink of an eye. However, in the face of such an attack, Bailey Hongzhuang and Beichen were rather calm. Because Beichen only stretched out his hand and restrained Shi Hongqiao once again. Shi Hongqiao's eyes widened. You poison me? He could clearly feel that he could not use his strength. Logically speaking, with his cultivation and strength, it was extremely difficult to poison him. However, he did not notice it before. It must have been quietly poisoned when he was first restrained in the room. Deacon Shi, calm down first. Beichen said slowly. We're indeed not from the Xiao family. As for why we're here today, it's because we have a business deal to discuss with you. Beichen pulled a chair and let Shi Hongqiao sit down. Only then did he and Bailey Hongzhuang casually sit down on the other side. Shi Hongqiao knew that he was not a match for these two in his current situation, so he simply stopped struggling. The way you're acting, it doesn't seem like you're here to discuss business with me. If we don't use this method, I'm sure Deacon Shi won't be willing to talk to us. This is just a means. Beichen's expression was indifferent. He did not feel that his method of negotiating with the other party was overboard. Deacon Shi, since you're a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, I'm sure you know everything about the Radiant Sacred Assembly. We have some questions for you. Hearing this, Shi Hongqiao's expression changed slightly. He frowned and stared at the two young men in front of him. Are you really not from the Xiao clan? Of course not. Then why are you asking about the Holy Light Assembly? Shi Hongqiao's eyes were gloomy. We want to know the requirements to become the Saintess of the Light, Beichen said with a burning gaze. When Shi Hongqiao heard this question, the doubts in his heart deepened. Logically speaking, it was useless for others to know about this. If our guess is correct, Xiao Shou has never been able to become the true Holy Maiden of Light, not because the time was not right, but because she lacked something. Now that she suddenly has the qualifications, we want to know the reason behind this. Why should I tell you? Shi Hongqiao stared at the two people in front of him. At this moment, he actually relaxed a little. At least, he was sure that these two people were indeed not from the Xiao clan. They even had a grudge against the Xiao clan. Chapter 5289. It's true that I don't like the Xiao family, but that doesn't mean that I will betray the Holy Light Assembly. Shi Hongqiao looked serious. He was a member of the Holy Light Assembly. Even if he was bitterly disappointed in the current situation and hated the Xiao family, he could not let the president down. We didn't ask you to betray the Holy Light Assembly. As long as you tell us what we want to know, you will definitely receive a satisfactory reward. Beichen said calmly. Of course, your life is also in our hands. A few insignificant questions in your life. I believe that this should be an easy choice. Hearing this, Shi Hongqiao's expression changed slightly. Indeed, his life was still in the hands of these two people. Why do you want to know these questions? Don't tell me that you want to stop Xiao Sou from becoming the Holy Light Assembly? Shi Hongqiao sneered. At this time, everything was already done. No one could stop it. Moreover, what good would it do to stop Xiao Sou from becoming the Holy Light Assembly? All these years, she had been carrying this title. In fact, it was just a ceremony away. However, when he noticed that the two people in front of him did not seem to be joking, he suddenly felt that he had guessed their purpose. How could this be? They actually wanted to stop Xiao Sou from becoming the Holy Light Assembly? Suddenly, Shi Hongqiao's expression changed. Are you guys from the D family? You talk too much nonsense. Bewitching's expression darkened. This guy had been talking nonsense since he was restrained. If you don't tell us, we can kill you directly, and then find the target. After all, you are not the only one who knows about this. The D family is the most disadvantageous for Xiao Sou to become the Holy Light Assembly. Needless to say, you guys are from the D family, right? Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes narrowed slightly. Although this guy was telling the truth, he had already decided on this point. It seemed that they couldn't keep this guy alive. Just as she was thinking about getting rid of him, Shi Hongqiao's attitude suddenly softened. Since that's the case, I'll tell you. Xiao Sou was originally unable to become the true Saintess of the Light, because she was unable to make the Saintess crystal light up. Seeing the sudden change in Shi Hongqiao's attitude, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen felt a little strange, but they were quickly attracted by his words. Saintess crystal? Not bad. Shi Hongqiao nodded. If you want to become the Holy Maiden, you have to light up the Holy Maiden crystal. Otherwise, you won't succeed. Previously, Xiao Sou was always a hair's breadth away. But this time, she obtained a decent harvest in the Immortal Cloud secret realm, which allowed her to light up the Holy Maiden crystal. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. As expected, it was because of the gains he had made in the Divine Cloud secret realm. It seemed that this was the effect of the Holy Tablet of Light. What are the requirements to light up the Saintess crystal? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. If you want to light up the Saintess crystal, you need to have an extremely pure light attribute talent. Apart from that, you also need to have an extremely high understanding of the power of light. Back then, Xiao Sou was always a hair's breadth away because her talent was still a little lacking. Actually, this was also due to the fact that the Xiao family had an inheritance that was very helpful for light attribute cultivators. However, they had tried all kinds of methods, but still could not let Xiao Sou succeed. So all these years, she had been carrying this title. Chapter 5290. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Di Beichen when she heard the requirements to become the Saintess of the Light Palace. She seemed to meet all the requirements. Di Beichen understood her thoughts, and his magnetic voice sounded again. Are there no other people who can meet these requirements? The light attribute is a rare attribute. Among all the cultivators, the light and dark attributes are the rarest. As for the talent to reach 100%, there is not even one in a million. All these years, the Holy Light Assembly has been looking for cultivators who meet the requirements to become the Saintess of the Light Palace. As long as there are more outstanding cultivators, they would be brought to the Holy Light headquarters to see if they meet the requirements. However, they have never succeeded, until Xiao Sou appeared. She is the only cultivator who meets the requirements. Shi Hongqiao looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. Actually, when Xiao Sou first arrived, she did not hold this title. However, Vice President Tang Yunshu is her master. All these years, she has been thinking of ways to help Xiao Sou meet the requirements. Initially, Xiao Sou still had a big gap. After all these years, this gap has been shrinking. This time, she is finally able to light up the crystal. Then, in the days when Xiao Sou is the next Saintess of the Light Palace, are there any other cultivators who have tried to light up the Saintess crystal? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. No. Shi Hongqiao shook his head. The Piercing Wind City is very close to the Xiao family. Most of the cultivators who appear here are from the Xiao family. In addition, the Xiao family has been eyeing this position for a long time. Who would dare to try? It's a small matter if they can't light up the Saintess crystal. If they lose their lives, that would be really not worth it. At the end of his sentence, Shi Hongqiao's words had a hint of sarcasm. Bailey Hongzhuang understood that the Xiao family would not let anyone who was a threat to Xiao Soa live. However, based on what they had learned so far, it was good news for them, because it gave them a lot of hope. As long as the Holy Maiden of Light did not belong to the Xiao clan, it would be much easier for her to snatch her away. Why are you suddenly willing to tell us now? Bewitching narrowed his eyes and shot a penetrating look at Shi Hongqiao, as if he could see right through his heart. Shi Hongqiao and Bewitching looked at each other for a moment and suddenly laughed. The head of the D family saved my life many years ago. I've always been grateful to him, but I never had the chance. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were both stunned. They did not expect this to happen. Back then, the head of the D family had been looking for his lost child. He made many friends and helped many people. I happened to be one of the people he helped. If it wasn't for him, I would have died long ago. Naturally, I wouldn't be where I am now. All these years, I've wanted to repay him. However, compared to my status as the head of the D family, I'm afraid I can't do much. Since I have the chance now, I'm more than happy to help. Seeing this, Bewitching secretly gave a look to Bailey Hongzhuang, and she immediately took out the antidote and handed it to Shi Hongqiao. This is the antidote. Looking at the antidote in front of him, Shi Hongqiao did not doubt it and immediately swallowed it. Chapter 5291. If Shi Hongqiao were to make a move, they would definitely make a move immediately. However, such a situation did not happen. After Shi Hongqiao realized that he could control his own strength again, he relaxed and a smile appeared on his face. If I'm not wrong, the two of you should be young Master D and young Madam D, right? Shi Hongqiao's lips curled up. Although it was a question, his tone was certain. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching did not deny it. Those who could become deacons were either capable or smart people. Shi Hongqiao had been in the Holy Assembly for so many years, and was very familiar with the situation of the big families. It was not strange for him to guess this. After all, everyone knew that the D family was at a disadvantage when the Xiao family and the Jun family joined forces. I've heard rumors about you. Many people say that your talent and comprehension of the light attribute is stronger than Xiao Sou. Although I have not seen it with my own eyes, I believe that it is not baseless. If possible, I really hope that the position of Holy Maiden will fall into your hands. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. According to what you said, the Xiao family is now in control of the Holy Assembly. It would be very difficult to snatch this position, right? That might not be the case. Shi Hongqiao's face darkened. The Xiao family is in control of the sky, and there are naturally people who are dissatisfied. However, ever since Xiao Sou was able to light up the Saintess crystal, coupled with their marriage alliance with the Jun family, their behavior had become more and more arrogant. If it was not for the fact that they could not find a chance to overthrow them, I believe that many people would not swallow their anger. Shi Hongqiao's eyes flashed with a malicious light. The Xiao family has been arrogant in the piercing wind city for so long. It's time for them to retreat. If the entire Holy Assembly were to become the Xiao family's people, wouldn't it become a joke? Looking at Shi Hongqiao's resentful look, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that this person really hated the Xiao family. This kind of hatred that came from the bottom of his heart was not something that could be easily faked. It seemed like the rumor that the piercing wind city belonged to the Xiao family had caused many people to be dissatisfied with it. Deacon Shi, according to you, Tang Yunshu has always been supporting Bailey Hongzhuang. Then, what about the president himself? Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. If both the president and the vice president had such an attitude, then this matter would be somewhat troublesome. Even if she could also light up the Saintess crystal, no one in the Holy Assembly was willing to support her. Even if she succeeded, her days would not be easy. The president is a very fair person. What he cares about the most is the development of the Holy Light Assembly. He won't deliberately side with one side. All these years, the president has been doing his best for the Holy Light Assembly. He has also been looking for a suitable candidate to become the Holy Maiden of Light. Shi Hongqiao was a smart person. He immediately understood Bailey Hongzhuang's concern. If Miss Bailey can really light up the Holy Maiden crystal, then you can leave the matter of having people in the Holy Assembly support you. Shi Hongqiao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a burning gaze. His voice was filled with determination. I don't want any reward. I just don't want to see the Xiao family continue to be arrogant. No. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand. Shi Hongqiao was slightly stunned. The resentful light in his eyes slowly dimmed. Chapter 5292. If it was so easy to light up the crystal, the Holy Light Assembly would not have been unable to find the next Holy Maiden for the past hundreds of years. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's next words made Shi Hongqiao's dim eyes shine brightly. If I become the Holy Maiden of the Holy Light Assembly, I will definitely make whoever snatched your position return it to me. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and smiled proudly. She was also unhappy with the Xiao family's attitude. As long as Shi Hongqiao wholeheartedly helped them, she would naturally not treat him badly. Do you really have this intention? Shi Hongqiao stared at Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. His usually calm face was now filled with excitement and excitement. This was something that he had been dreaming of all this time. Ever since the Xiao family had been pressuring him step by step, he had been wishing that someone would appear and snatch away Xiao Sou's position as the Holy Maiden of the Holy Light Assembly. He wanted to see how the Xiao family could continue to be so arrogant. However, he was very clear that the probability of this happening was too small. However, this opportunity had actually appeared and landed directly on his head. How could he not be pleasantly surprised? Of course, Bewitching nodded. This is our purpose for coming to the Piercing Wind City this time. Then how can you be sure that you have the ability to light up the Holy Maiden's crystal? That is not an easy task. After the excitement, Shi Hongqiao calmed down. As a member of the Holy Light Assembly, he knew very well how difficult it was to achieve this. At least from the few aspects that you have mentioned, I am not weaker than Xiao Sou at all. Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite face was filled with confidence. Her gaze was firm and filled with her usual pride. Her master was the real Holy Maiden of the Holy Light Assembly, and she was the disciple of the Holy Maiden of the Holy Light Assembly. She did not think that she was weaker than Xiao Sou in this aspect. Deacon Shi, you can rest assured and trust us, Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. With our status, if we didn't have enough confidence, we wouldn't take such a risk in front of so many people. If the first half of the sentence was not enough to make Shi Hongqiao believe it, then the second half of the sentence made him completely at ease. In any case, I'm already in this state. Even if I fail, it won't affect me at all. I'll fight it out with you. Shi Hongqiao's eyes were filled with madness. He had suffered so many blows in recent days, and the humiliation he endured every day made him want to explode. Now that there was such an opportunity in front of him, he naturally wouldn't miss it. Even if he really failed, so what? How bad could it be? As long as he could make the Xiao family unhappy, that would be the most satisfying thing for him. The most troublesome thing now is how to give my wife a chance to light up the Saintess crystal on the day of the Saintess succession ceremony? Bewitching frowned. Only by proving this point could they pose a threat to Xiao Sou's position. Otherwise, no one would believe them just by relying on their eloquence. They would only think that they were here to cause trouble. Don't worry, Xiao Sou will personally light up the crystal for everyone to see during the ceremony. Shi Hongqiao's face lit up with a smile. When the time comes, if you appear, I will rope in others to support you. Under the eyes of so many people, they won't be able to refuse. That's great. Chapter 5293. That night, when Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching left, it was already very late. The three of them discussed many specific details and situations together. Through Shi Hongqiao's introduction, the two of them also understood a lot about the process of the succession ceremony. They were no longer completely clueless like before. There was no doubt that they had gained a lot from that night. If everything went according to plan, the success rate would be extremely high. Not only them, but Shi Hongqiao was also very excited. Just thinking about it made him feel like his blood was about to boil. If everything could come true, then he did not care about anything else. After all, a person's life was all about fighting for one's pride. If he was constantly being suppressed and humiliated without being able to fight back, then what was the point of living? What he wanted was to see the Xiao family's pale faces. It seems that Jiang Wenyan's favor is really not small. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. However, father saved Deacon Shi before. Jiang Wenyan should not know about this. Judging from Jiang Wenyan and my father's age, Jiang Wenyan should not know about it. Di Beichen pondered and said. Based on the current situation, the chances of us succeeding are very high. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. And according to Shi Hongqiao, when succeeding the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, the Holy Maiden's prayer will increase the power of light again. Therefore, we must not give this opportunity to Xiao Shou. She was also a woman who held grudges. She would not allow anyone who wanted to harm her to have a chance to develop. Di Beichen nodded slightly. The Holy Maiden of Light will definitely be yours. Shi Hongqiao should be very busy during this period of time. However, he has been in the Holy Assembly for so many years, so he must have some tricks up his sleeve. He should be very secretive and will not be easily discovered. Let's keep a low profile during this period of time and not be noticed by others. In a few days, Big Brother and the others will be here. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft hand. Under the night light, their shadows were elongated as they snuggled together, exuding a sweet taste. The weather had begun to turn cold. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands were already cold, but after being enveloped by Di Beichen's broad and warm palms, a warmth spread from her palms to her heart. Fortunately, no matter when, Di Beichen was always by her side. The feeling of two people working hard for the same goal was also very good. For the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruoyan stayed in the restaurant. Bailey Hongzhuang spent most of her time cultivating and comprehending the power of light. The radiant sacred steel was in the chaos ring. Although she had comprehended it for a while and obtained the inheritance, she had only comprehended a little of the laws on the radiant sacred steel. Therefore, as long as she had time, she would come over to comprehend it seriously. The radiant sacred steel was a great gift from her master, for a treasure, like it to fall into her hands. With such an opportunity, if she still could not surpass others in terms of comprehension, then she would have let down her master. While Bailey Hongzhuang was comprehending in peace, Di Beichen was not idle either. He was also comprehending the darkness sacred steel. Ever since the last successful summoning, he had understood the great power of darkness. If he could comprehend more, his methods would be even more powerful in the future. Chapter 5294. As the date of the succession ceremony drew closer, the piercing wind city became more and more lively as various forces rushed over. The Holy Light Assembly was the most influential guild in the upper realm. Now that such a big event had happened, the various forces would definitely give them face. Not only that, the Alchemist Guild, the Inscription Association and various other large guilds had also sent people over. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen came out of the house, they realized that the entire restaurant was already full. Fortunately, the two of them had already reserved a table and were still seated by the window. This seat had an excellent view, and from here, they could clearly see the situation on the street. Xiao Shou had been in a good mood recently. To be precise, ever since she had finally lit up the Holy Lady Crystal, her mood had been extremely good. All these years, she had been working hard for this point, but she had always been lacking by a hair's breadth. Others did not know how frustrated and tangled she was because of this one hair's breadth. All these years, they had used all kinds of methods, but had never succeeded. Ever since she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's light attribute talent was so shocking, she was so anxious that she could not sleep. Fortunately, this position would eventually belong to her, and no one would be able to take it away from her. Not only that, she was now engaged to Jun Lingxuan, and everything was going as she had expected. It was really excellent. These few days, more and more forces have arrived at the piercing wind city. Xiao Soa's lips curled up slightly. These people were all here to watch her succession ceremony. By then, she would have limitless glory. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. It's only half a month before your succession ceremony. All the major forces have either arrived or are on their way. Do you think Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest will be here? Xiao Soa's eyebrows raised slightly as her eyes revealed a sense of satisfaction. Previously, she was most worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would come to the Holy Assembly. Now the situation was the complete opposite. She couldn't wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to witness her success. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan couldn't help but think of that stunning white figure. The image of Bailey Hongzhuang was deeply ingrained in his heart and was unforgettable. I don't know, but they will definitely come. I wonder what Bailey Hongzhuang's expression will be when she hears the news. Xiao Soa smirked, but her eyes were full of malice and viciousness. Although she didn't say it clearly before, I'm afraid she has already decided that the position of the Holy Maiden of Light will be hers. However, she must be dreaming. Is it really so easy to get this position? Jun Lingxuan turned his eyes and saw the malice and hatred in Xiao Soa's eyes. He couldn't help but frown slightly. I don't think so. If Bailey Hongzhuang really thinks so, she would have already come to the Holy Assembly. That means she still has some self-awareness and didn't ask to be humiliated. Otherwise, it would be a joke if she came. Xiao Soa scoffed coldly. She would never allow anyone to snatch away what was hers. Jun Lingxuan didn't say anything. Xiao Soa couldn't help but frown. Do you think I'm wrong? Before Jun Lingxuan could speak, someone interrupted their conversation. Eldest Miss Xiao, congratulations. Holy Maiden of Light, you're really amazing. You're indeed the glory of the Xiao family. Chapter 5295. Xiao Seiwu was all smiles as she faced everyone's congratulations. Her delicate and pretty face was blooming with a bright radiance. She was truly radiant and radiant. Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting by the window and coincidentally saw this scene. Her lips curled into a mocking smile as she said, Xiao So, you can laugh as much as you want now. After a while, I'm afraid you won't be able to laugh anymore. Master, I want to go out for a walk. Linger's voice suddenly rang out. Ever since I came out from the historical remains, I haven't been to such a lively place. I want to go out and take a look. Previously, she had not been able to regain her memories and was immersed in frustration all day long. Hence, she was not interested in these things. However, it was different now. She had already accepted many things. Furthermore, she had been staying in the same place for so many years. In fact, she was bored out of her wits. Now that the piercing wind city was so lively, she wanted to take a look around. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, All right, you just have to be careful when you go out. Don't worry, what can happen to me? Linger smiled faintly. Bai Li Yanche also came out from the chaos ring and said, Sister, I also want to take the opportunity to go out and take a look. In the past, when he was by his sister's side, he was in the form of a beast. Since he was in his human form now, he wanted to experience it. Both of you can go together. No. Ling, and Bai Li Yanche said in unison. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at the two of them and asked, Didn't both of you reconcile previously? That was because the situation forced us to. Ling, glared fiercely at Bai Li Yanche and said, It's better for us to go our separate ways. As long as both of you are happy, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. However, before you go out, you have to bring this with you. In the next moment, 2 Qingquan bags landed in the hands of both of them. There are some spirit stones inside. If you like anything, you can buy it. Both of you should buy some clothes. Whether it was Ling, or Bai Li Yanche, their clothes did not belong to them. Instead, they belonged to Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. Previously, they did not really come out, so they just wore them casually. Since both of them were going out, it was a good idea to buy some things that they liked. Ling, looked at the Qingquan bag in her hand, and hung it on her waist in the next moment. An elegant smile appeared on her elegant face. Thank you, sister brother-in-law, I'll leave. Let's go out. Also, Beichen. Also, you. According to their estimations, Di Xiaofeng and the others should be here in 2 days. Now the entire Piercing Wind City was very lively. Most importantly, she was very interested in a place. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's expectant face, Di Beichen nodded his head dotingly. Wherever my wife wants to go. Hee. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and pulled Di Beichen's hand as they walked out of the house. I heard that there is an Inscription Masters Association in the Piercing Wind City. Previously, when I was in the lower realm, I didn't meet many Inscription Masters. Since there is an Inscription Masters Association here, I naturally have to go and take a look. She had never given up on inscription techniques. A good inscription was very useful. Now she wanted to understand the difference between the upper realm and the lower realm. Chapter 5296. This time, the two of them had already removed their disguises when they left the house. At this time, most of the forces had already arrived, so there was no need for them to continue hiding their identities. When they were in the Immortal Cloud secret realm, there were many people who were familiar with them. If they were to be recognized by others now, they would be at a disadvantage. As Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen appeared on the streets of the Piercing Wind City, they quickly attracted the attention of the crowd. Not to mention that the appearance of the two was outstanding. People couldn't take their eyes off them when they appeared. The most important thing was that since the news that Xiao Seiwu was about to become the real Saint of Light spread, Bailey Hongzhuang was compared to her. Look, isn't that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang? They are indeed here. This is going to be interesting. I originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang had the intention to fight for the position of the Holy Maiden of the Light World. I don't think so. In the Xiangyun secret territory, although Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was very outstanding, from beginning to end, she did not show any interest in the position of the Holy Maiden of Light. If you can see through everything, how amazing would that be? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were extremely calm in the face of the crowd's discussion. This situation was within their expectations, and was very normal. The two of them originally wanted to head directly to the Inscription Masters Guild. However, when they passed by the Piercing Wind City's underground market, Bailey Hongzhuang was instantly interested. Although she might not be able to find a treasure that was suitable for her, she still needed to search for it carefully. Once she found it, she would have profited greatly. Thinking back to the time when she was in the underground market of Water Chi City, she had gained quite a lot. I'm afraid Yi and the rest are not here yet. Otherwise, she would be very interested in the underground market. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hearing this, Di Beichen smiled. Yi has always been going wherever there is a lot of excitement. She should be here in a few days. As the two of them walked into the underground market, sure enough, there was a lively scene inside. As far as the eye could see, there were stalls with many treasures on display. However, there were even more cultivators who came to pick out treasures. Such a lively scene would only appear when a grand event happened. However, before the two of them could choose their treasures, their gazes were attracted by a clamor. It's your fortune that I've taken a liking to you. Xiao Zhongliang was now flushed with success. He could make a lot of money by strolling around the underground market. However, he didn't expect to see a beauty here today. His eyes lit up instantly. His wife was old and weak, and was not worthy of his current status. He had already planned to marry someone else. However, he was also a person with requirements. Even if many women threw themselves at him, he still insisted on finding someone he liked. The woman in front of him made his eyes light up at first glance, and he was mesmerized by her. Get out of my way. The cold voice was filled with undisguised disgust. Such a huge commotion instantly attracted the attention of many people. Everyone stopped to watch. Isn't that Deacon Xiao of the Radiant Sacred Assembly? I heard that he had snatched Deacon Shi's position. Now he is in the limelight. Who asked him to be a member of the Xiao family? Xiao Sou is about to become the Holy Maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Her status is no less than the president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Isn't it easy to support him? Chapter 5297. Listening to the discussion of the onlookers in front, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but have a trace of sarcasm in her eyes. I didn't expect that we would see Deacon Xiao so soon. This Deacon Xiao seems to be very high profile. He dares to do such a thing at such a time when he is the focus of attention. Di Beichen shook his head. Originally, he thought that this guy should have some ability since the Xiao family supported a deacon so strongly. However, from the fact that he dared to flirt with a beauty in broad daylight, this person was no longer a concern. Even though the Xiao family was very popular now, and Xiao Shou had supreme power in the Holy Assembly, more people paid attention to it at such a time. What's more, now that all the forces were here, even the slightest thing would attract everyone's attention. This kind of thing was the topic of everyone's leisure time. In the blink of an eye, it would quickly spread to the ears of all the forces. It was really stupid. However, don't you think that Beauty's voice is a bit familiar? Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a helpless expression. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beichen, and then was slightly stunned. Could it be? Di Beichen nodded. Yes, it is. Bailey Hongzhuang was dumbfounded. Ling is really charming. Hawan also fell in love with her at first sight. She has only been out for a while, and someone is eyeing her again. Ling is beautiful. It's normal for people to take a fancy to her when she comes in and out of such places. Di Beichen chuckled. If everyone didn't know that you were my wife, there would be countless wild bees and butterflies around you now. Thinking of this, Di Beichen was a little proud. Fortunately, he had declared his sovereignty early. Otherwise, these guys would really have a headache. Bailey Hongzhuang, who originally wanted to stand up for Linger, couldn't help but laugh when she heard Di Beichen's words. The usually unfathomable Beichen's reaction was extremely cute when he encountered such a situation. She couldn't help but recall the matter with Chu Yingming. However, her fate was still a bit. Let's go teach that Deacon Xiao a lesson. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Anyone who dared to touch her people was courting death. She didn't care about Xiao Zhenliang's position in the Holy Assembly. She didn't even care about Xiao Shou, so why would she care about a mere deacon? However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to make a move, Di Beichen suddenly pulled her back. Beichen? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen in confusion, not knowing what he was going to do. Don't worry. Di Beichen gave her a look. Someone has already made a move. Looking in the direction Di Beichen was pointing, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that Jiang Wenyan had unknowingly walked to Linger's side. Jiang Wenyan was wearing a beige robe today. His handsome face was still rippling with a gentle smile like a spring breeze. The image of a modest young master was deeply etched in people's hearts. Deacon Xiao, this lady obviously has no interest in you. Your actions have already caused a disturbance to this lady. I think it's better for you to apologize to this lady. His pursuit of a beauty was suddenly interrupted, and Xiao Zhenliang was also unhappy. One had to know that there were quite a number of ladies who had thrown themselves at him recently. He didn't believe that this lady would really reject him. She was just playing hard to get. Now in the entire Piercing Wind City, who wouldn't be willing to follow him if they knew his identity? Chapter 5298. When the surrounding crowd heard Xiao Zhenliang say such a thing to Jiang Wenyan, their faces were filled with astonishment. Deacon Xiao must have put all his attention on the beauty. He didn't even recognize the young master of the Jiang family, Jiang Wenyan. Jiang Wenyan only became the young master of the Jiang family 2 years ago. It's not strange that many people don't know about him. Do you think that young master Jiang suddenly came to save the damsel in distress because he has taken a liking to this beauty? Everyone was especially interested in the matters of heroes and beauties. Bailey Hongzhuang stood at the periphery of the crowd. After seeing this scene, her eyebrows rose slightly. Jiang Wenyan actually came out. He seems to like to draw his sword and help others. Perhaps he has fallen for Linger. Di Beichen chuckled. Previously, Jiang Wenyan always looked invulnerable. I thought that he was really pure and simple. Now it seems that he's much more normal. He has fallen for Linger. Bailey Hongzhuang was astonished. If she remembered correctly, this should be Jiang Wenyan's first time meeting Ling. Perhaps he doesn't like her, but at least he has a good impression of her. Di Beichen smiled mysteriously. As a man, He understood a man's gaze the best. As a member of the Beast clan, Ling had a unique charm after transforming into her human form. Most importantly, someone like Jiang Wenyan, who looked pure and simple, would easily notice an elegant woman like Ling. I'm Jiang Wenyan. Jiang Wenyan did not show any anger because of Xiao Zhengliang's rude words. His calm demeanor did not reveal any emotion. However, Xiao Zhengliang's expression changed when he heard the name. Young master of the Jiang family? That's me. Hearing that, Xiao Zhengliang felt his legs turn to jelly. Although he was now a deacon of the Holy Light Assembly, he could not afford to pay the price of angering the young master of an aristocratic family. He should have known that since this fellow dared to come over despite knowing his identity, his status must not be low. However, generally speaking, the young masters of aristocratic families would not be polite when speaking at such a time. Who would have thought that the young master of the Jiang family would be so humble and polite? It was completely beyond his expectations, so he treated him with the same attitude just now. So it's young Lord Jiang. After being stunned for a moment, Xiao Zhengliang's face quickly revealed a flattering smile. I didn't know it was young Lord Jiang, so I offended you. I'm really sorry. Jiang Wenyan shook his head. You didn't offend me. You offended this lady. Xiao Zhengliang looked at Ling, and then at Jiang Wenyan. He understood what was going on. It seemed that Jiang Wenyan had taken a liking to Ling, otherwise he would not have stood up for her. Thinking of this, Xiao Zhengliang also felt a burst of unwillingness in his heart. It was not easy for him to meet such a beauty that he liked, but he did not expect that he would have to give her away. How could he not be depressed? Miss, I'm sorry. Ling looked disdainfully at Xiao Zhengliang. This fellow was really disgusting. Just an apology is enough? Just then another devilish voice was heard. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads, wondering who it was that had stood up at such a time. Following the direction of the voice, a handsome purple figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. Chapter 5299. The young master was unparalleled in this world. If one were to say that there was an unforgettable person in this world, the crowd would not doubt that the purple-robed man in front of them was that person. His chiseled features were handsome, and every inch of his face seemed to have been meticulously carved by the heavens. Every part of him was impeccably beautiful. His violet eyes sparkled like gemstones. His long silver hair complemented his fair and dazzling face. He was simply an evildoer. Heavens, whose young master is this? He's just too handsome. I can't take it anymore. This is the man of my dreams. I want to marry him. The women's eyes were filled with love. Such a handsome man was simply too rare. Most importantly, this kind of exotic scenery was simply too attractive. When Jiang Wenyan saw the newcomer, he could not help but feel shocked. This man's bearing was extraordinary. Logically speaking, he should not be an ordinary person. However, he had never seen this person before. Could he be a rising star from some organization? Ling could not help but roll her eyes when she saw Bai Li Yin Che. This fellow's appearance had caused an even greater sensation than her own. Most importantly, this fellow was even more good-looking than a woman. He was simply too much of a demon. Xiao Zhengliang looked at the newcomer. His mood was already very bad. He could not compare to the young master of the Jiang family, so he could only swallow his anger. However, if this fellow who had appeared again was not an extraordinary person, he would not be able to control his anger. However, when he saw Bai Li Yin Che's figure, the anger in his eyes dissipated completely. Needless to say, this person was definitely not simple. At that moment, Xiao Zhengliang's expression was complicated. He did not know what kind of bad luck he had run into today. He had only seen a woman he admired. How did he end up offending two organizations for no apparent reason? This was not something he wanted to see. Sir, who are you? Xiao Zhengliang probed. He had to find out the other party's true identity first. However, Bai Li Yin Che ignored him and walked towards Linger's side. His handsome face was filled with exasperation. You really know how to cause trouble. Hearing this, Linger couldn't help but reveal a look of dissatisfaction. Are you blaming me for this? After she bought a few sets of clothes at the cloth store, she heard people talking about the many treasures in the underground market. she decided to come and take a look. Who would have thought that he would be targeted by Xiao Zhenliang not long after arriving here? This guy was like an annoying fly that couldn't be shaken off. Most importantly, this guy thought that he had power and influence. So he thought that she was playing hard to get. She was about to die from anger. Who should I blame if not you? Bai Lianche looked unhappy. I didn't want to talk to you, but now I have to clean up your mess. Even if you don't do it, I can do it myself, Linger said unhappily. Come on, don't you still have to find someone to clean up for you? Bai Lianche glanced at Jiang Wenyan from the corner of his eyes. His meaning was obvious. Jiang Wenyan looked at Bai Lianche and Ling Er's familiar faces and was shocked. Most importantly, he realized that Bai Lianche and Ling Er were both wearing purple clothes. Could it be that these two were lovers? Jiang Wenyan was not the only one who had this thought. Everyone present had the same thought. Chapter 5300. The two of them can't be a couple, right? This is too heartbreaking. I've waited for so many years, and I've finally found the one of my dreams. Definitely not. Even if it's me, I'll break them up. Ling Er, who was originally calm, suddenly felt numerous gazes filled with murderous intent on her back, as if they couldn't wait to tear her apart and eat her up. He turned his gaze slightly, and realized that these gazes were all from the women present. He immediately rolled his eyes. He didn't expect that these people only cared about appearances, and didn't know Bai Lianche's character at all. I didn't expect Ling Er to also buy a purple dress. When she stands next to Yan Che, they're really not an ordinary match. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Previously, she only noticed Ling Er wearing this dress, and didn't think much of it. Now that Bai Lianche was here, she only felt that the two of them were extremely compatible. Actually, they're quite compatible. Di Baichen smiled faintly. Currently, only Ling Er and Bai Lianche had taken human form. If the two of them could become a couple, it would be extremely good. However, it's already good enough that the two of them don't quarrel every time they meet. Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands and sighed. She knew very well that the two of them never stopped quarreling every day. Although the two of them are usually like enemies when they meet, at a time like this, didn't Yin Che still help Ling Er vent her anger? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That's true. This kind of person should be taught a lesson directly. What's the point of talking so much nonsense with him? A trace of coldness appeared in Bai Lianche's eyes. Whether it was Xiao Souo or the Xiao family, they all made him feel extremely disgusted. Xiao Souo had brought so much trouble to his sister, and the Xiao family was so arrogant. Since Trouble had taken the initiative to find them, he naturally wouldn't be polite. In the next moment, Bai Lianche directly punched out in front of everyone's shocked eyes. Xiao Zhenliang did not expect that Bai Lianche would dare to attack him in front of so many people. Even though he had reacted in time, Bai Lianche's fist was too fast for him to block. In the next moment, a figure was sent flying backwards, heavily smashing into the wall, and only then did he fall down. Gasps could be heard from the crowd. Everyone looked at Bai Lianche in disbelief. No matter what, Xiao Zhenliang was still a member of the Xiao family. Now that the Xiao family was in the limelight, one had to look at the owner before beating a dog. Generally speaking, no one would choose to find trouble with the Xiao family at this time. Who would have thought that this person would not care at all? His first attack was so heavy. However, after seeing Bai Lianche's actions, everyone was even more certain that his relationship with Ling Er was extraordinary. Otherwise, why would he offend the Xiao family for a woman? When Ling Er saw Bai Lianche's actions, she was a little surprised as well. However, she quickly calmed down, and there was even a trace of relief in her eyes. Previously, that damned fellow wanted to take advantage of his status to make a move on her. In fact, he almost attacked him. However, before he could do anything, Jiang Wenyan had already arrived, so he stopped. However, a simple apology from the other party was not enough to relieve his anger. As a member of the Dragon clan, how could the price of angering her be so simple? Chapter 5301. Xiao Zhengliang spat out a mouthful of blood. He covered his mouth and realized that there were 2 teeth in his hand. He did not expect the man who appeared later to be so ruthless. Most importantly, as the Xiao family's steward, he was treated in such a manner in front of so many people. How humiliating! Who are you? How dare you treat me like this? Xiao Zhengliang roared. Even Jiang Wenyan would not do this. This fellow who appeared out of nowhere was too much. Remember this clearly. My name is Bai Li Yanqi. Bai Li Yanqi stared coldly at Xiao Zhengliang. His deep eyes were filled with murderous intent and icicles, causing Xiao Zhengliang's heart to tremble for no reason. When Bai Li Yanqi said this, many of the people present had already memorized his name in their hearts. However, everyone was unfamiliar with this name. Before this, they had never heard of Bai Li Yanqi. This person's surname is Bailey. Could he be a member of the Bailey family? That can't be. The Bailey family is only a small family. They can't even be compared to the Xiao family. He actually dared to attack Xiao Zhengliang. Isn't he asking for trouble? Everyone was familiar with the Bailey family. It was said that the Bailey family had enjoyed a period of glory many years ago. However, they gradually declined, and their influence was no longer what it used to be. In front of the Xiao family, the Bailey family had always been courteous. Who would dare to take the initiative to cause trouble? Xiao Zhengliang had thought that the other party was an extraordinary person. However, when he heard that the other party was a member of the Bailey family, the flames of anger in his heart burned brightly. Xiao Zhengliang's ferocious face was filled with rage. He shouted loudly, "Guards!" As Xiao Zhengliang's voice fell, a group of guards from the underground market rushed over. The Xiao family was currently maintaining order in the underground market. The reason why they did not make a move previously was because of Jiang Wenyan's appearance. Without Xiao Zhengliang's instructions, they did not dare to make a move. However, since Xiao Zhengliang had called for them, they rushed over immediately. Cripple him. Xiao Zhengliang's face was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with a malicious and ruthless light. He had to completely cripple this guy, so that everyone would know the price of offending him. Of course, he couldn't afford to offend the young master of the Jiang family. However, a mere Bailey family dared to bully him. They were simply courting death. Looking at Xiao Zhengliang's attitude, Bai Li Yanqi couldn't help but sneer. What? Since one person wasn't enough, they started to gang up on him? It just so happens that I also want to exercise today, so I'll play with you guys. Bai Li Yanqi was speaking the truth. Ever since he returned from the immortal cloud mystic realm, he had transformed into his human form, and did not have many opportunities to fight. Now that he had the chance to teach this damned deacon a lesson, it was not a bad idea. After all, this guy would die sooner or later. When the crowd saw that Bai Li Yanqi was not the least bit afraid, but was instead extremely excited, they were at a loss for words. This world had changed too much. They had not stepped out of the family for a while. So why did the situation seem to have reversed? Have you heard that Bailey Hongzhuang seems to have become the head of the Bailey family? No wonder Bai Li Yanqi dares to be so unyielding. It turns out that the Bailey family and the D family are now in the same boat. Chapter 5302. Everyone immediately understood. So this was the reason behind it. No wonder Bai Li Yanqi was so impolite when he made his move. If they were in his shoes, they would not have been so polite either. It was fine if he was his enemy, but he actually dared to tease his sweetheart. Wasn't he courting death? If he didn't have any guts, he wouldn't be a man. Just as Bai Li Yanqi and Xiao Zhengliang's enemies were about to erupt into a battle, Jiang Wenyan's voice rang out again. You're right. Deacon Xiao, this underground market is under the jurisdiction of the Xiao family. Isn't it a little inappropriate for you to use the guards to settle the grudge between the four of you? Jiang Wenyan's gaze was calm as he looked on quietly. However, his attitude made Xiao Zhengliang hesitate. He originally thought that Jiang Wenyan had helped Ling, or because he had taken a liking to her. Now that Linger's lover was here, he shouldn't have any reason to help. Why did it seem like Jiang Wenyan had no intention of leaving? Young Master Jiang, you've seen it for yourself. This kid attacked me the moment he arrived. How can I not teach him a lesson? This is a grudge between the Xiao family and the Bailey family. I hope that young Master Jiang will not interfere. Xiao Zhengliang looked at Jiang Wenyan with a complicated gaze. He didn't care about the Bailey family, but if Jiang Wenyan insisted on interfering, then this matter would be difficult to handle. From what you've said, you're going to use your power to bully others. Ling Er sneered. The Piercing Wind City is your Xiao family's territory, so you think you can do whatever you want here? Bai Li Yin Che's gaze turned sinister. So this is the Xiao family's people, taking liberties with a girl in broad daylight, and not allowing others to take revenge. If that's the case, any girl in the underground market that you've taken a liking to would be in trouble? You're basically robbing them. When they knew that Deacon Xiao had taken away Deacon Shi's position, they knew that this guy wasn't a good person. But now, it seemed that their thinking was still too simple. This guy was completely a bully and tyrannical master. Originally, no one thought about this, but after Ling Er and Bai Li Yin Che mentioned it, the way they looked at Xiao Zhengliang changed. Indeed, if they didn't have someone as lucky as Ling Er to help them, then Deacon Xiao would be able to cover the sky with one hand. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but shudder. Deacon Zhao's actions are indeed too much. Judging from the situation, he's the one in charge of this underground market. I think the Xiao clan is really arrogant. Even if Xiao Sou becomes the holy maiden of the light, they shouldn't be so arrogant. Xiao Zhengliang's face turned ugly as he listened to the crowd's discussion. This was not the result he wanted. Although this was indeed the case, if word of this got out, it would have a different meaning. If the Xiao clan knew about this, they wouldn't let him off. What nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Zhengliang became serious. You're the one who started it. What's wrong with me teaching you a lesson? Men, take him down. Xiao Zhengliang signaled with his eyes. These two guys weren't easy to deal with. He had to shut their mouths as soon as possible. Otherwise, he didn't know how much trouble there would be. Chapter 5303. Ling Er narrowed her eyes when she saw their actions. It seemed like these fellows wanted to die today. Jiang Wenyan's expression turned gloomy when he saw this scene. How dare a mere deacon ignore his words? He usually didn't like to get angry, but since this fellow didn't take him seriously, he no longer had his good temper. Xiao Zhengliang didn't realize that his actions had offended Jiang Wenyan. He only thought that Jiang Wenyan wouldn't interfere after he revealed his family's feud. Most importantly, his reason gave Jiang Wenyan a very good way out, and he could completely stay out of this matter. Just as Jiang Wenyan was about to make a move, Ling Er spoke first. Young Master Jiang, thank you for your kind intentions, but leave the rest to us. A cold smile appeared on Ling Er's delicate face. Her eyes were filled with ice. This fellow really thought that they were easy to bully. Jiang Wenyan was slightly taken aback. In his heart, he also understood that Ling Er was really angry. However, he didn't know what would happen when Ling Er, who looked so otherworldly, made a move. Bai Li Yin Che's lips suddenly curled into a dazzling and evil smile. It seemed like he and Ling Er were surprisingly in agreement on this point. In the next moment, the two of them flashed and attacked the guards around them at lightning speed. Bang! 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 The sound of fists and feet colliding instantly resounded. The guards were rather strong, with all of them being at the Starlight Realm. Everyone thought that Bai Li Yin Che and Jiang Wenyan would be courting death if they were to deal with the guards with their strength alone. However, what happened next was completely out of everyone's expectations. Bai Li Yin Che only threw a punch, and the other party immediately bent over like a cooked shrimp curled up. Their faces were flushed red, as if they had suffered an unbearable blow. Most importantly, everyone realized that Bai Li Yin Che was simply a monster with abnormal strength. His battle prowess was incomparably shocking. Anyone who was hit by his attack was directly sent flying or beaten into a pile of minced meat. They fell limply to the ground, unable to fight back. After the guards saw how abnormal Bai Li Yin Che was, they all turned their target to Ling Er. As long as they could subdue one of them, the situation would be under control. Unfortunately, their wishful thinking was still wrong. This was because this woman's hands looked slender, but the degree of violence when she attacked was no weaker than Bai Li Yin Che. Her attacks were extremely terrifying. Compared to Bai Li Yin Che, she was more proficient in speed. Her attacks arrived in the blink of an eye, and with one move, her opponents were unable to fight back. Everyone looked at each other when they saw this. This situation was far too unexpected. Jiang Wenyan looked at Linger in surprise. When Bai Lianche beat up Xiao Zhengliang earlier, he already knew that Bai Lianche was not weak. However, he did not expect Linger to be so strong as well. Although he could not see her true strength from her punches and kicks, she was at least at the Nebula realm. Otherwise, she would not have been able to deal with the guards so easily. Xiao Zhengliang was also dumbfounded. He did not expect the guards, who were usually extremely strong, to be like tofu in front of the two of them. They could be easily crushed. What would he do if the guards were crippled? Chapter 5304. Since when did the Bailey family have such a powerful young man? His combat power is comparable to the young masters of the major clans. Do you think that Ling is also a member of the Bailey family? I think their combat methods are somewhat similar, but I have never heard of a cultivator from the Bailey family who is so good at strength. I have to say, this kind of battle is really fun to watch. What Xiao Zhengliang had done had already made people unhappy. Now that they saw the guards being beaten into a pile of mud, everyone was happy to see it. Xiao Souo was now in the limelight, so it was expected that the Xiao family would be arrogant. However, if they were too arrogant, everyone would not be happy to see it. One of them is a beast king, and the other is a dragon. It is also expected that they would be so violent. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She was very familiar with Bai Lianche and Linger's combat habits. She had already guessed that this would happen before the two of them attacked. This was really interesting. It's good to teach this Xiao Zhengliang a lesson first. This guy needs to be taught a lesson. Di Baichen looked indifferent. He was not worried from the beginning. With Bai Lianche and Linger's strength, it was not a problem for them to deal with this. After Bai Lianche and Linger took care of the guards, their eyes fell on Xiao Zhengliang. Feeling their threatening gazes, Xiao Zhengliang could not help but take a few steps back. You. What do you want to do? What do we want to do? Bai Lianche sneered. Deacon Xiao, didn't you say that you wanted to cripple me? Why are you so scared now? Let me tell you. I am a deacon of the Holy Light Assembly. If you dare to attack me, the Xiao family will not let you go. Xiao Zhengliang looked nervous. He was already thinking about how to leave this place. Revenge was a dish best served cold. As long as he informed his family, the two of them would have no choice but to surrender obediently. Are these words of any use to us? Linger's expression was cold. If Xiao Zhengliang was not a member of the Xiao family, they would not have acted like this. Bai Lianche was too lazy to talk nonsense. He threw another punch at Xiao Zhengliang. Why did he find this guy so annoying? Bang! Xiao Zhengliang, who was already injured, was sent flying again. It was unknown if Bai Lianche did it on purpose, or if it was a coincidence. But Xiao Zhengliang hit the wall again and fell to the ground. It was exactly the same situation. Quick, help me inform the Xiao family. Xiao Zhengliang hurriedly shouted out to the surrounding people. These two fellas were obviously newborn calves that were not afraid of tigers. They had no intention of restraining themselves in the piercing wind city. Right now, he didn't have the slightest doubt that if no one stopped them, those two fellows might really kill him. When Xiao Souo and Jun Lingxuan passed by the underground market, they wanted to take a look. In fact, every time the underground market was held, there would always be people who would find some treasures. Now that this place was under their jurisdiction, it was only right for them to take a look. However, when the two of them arrived, they heard Xiao Zhengliang's anxious shout. The two of them could not help but look at each other as their expressions turned serious. There are actually people who dare to find trouble with the Xiao family in the piercing wind city. Chapter 5305. Jun Lingxuan couldn't help but look at Xiao Souo. Xiao Souo immediately said, "Let's go and take a look. The one in trouble should be Xiao Zhengliang." Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan's eyes were tinged with a trace of seriousness. He had some understanding of Xiao Zhengliang. In recent days, he knew that Xiao Souo and the others had supported Xiao Zhengliang to rise to the top. Logically speaking, at this time, No one should have dared to provoke Xiao Zhengliang, let alone in the Xiao family's territory. Both of them quickened their pace at the first moment and quickly rushed inside. Stop! Xiao Sou immediately shouted when she saw Bai Li Yanqi attacking Xiao Zhengliang. Jun Lingxuan also moved and quickly appeared in front of Xiao Zhengliang, blocking Bai Li Yanqi's attack. However, when he saw Bai Li Yanqi, Jun Lingxuan's pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly. This man's appearance was really monstrous. He could compete with Bewitching. Who are you? How dare you attack my Xiao family? Xiao Sou's face was filled with anger as she questioned loudly. Today was the Xiao family's most glorious day. These two people's actions were tantamount to slapping their faces. This was something she absolutely couldn't tolerate. Seeing Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan appear, the crowd couldn't help but sigh. Originally, Xiao Zhengliang was almost finished. They didn't expect Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan to appear in such a timely manner. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan are here. It seems that Bai Li Yanqi and Jun Lingxuan are in trouble. On one side was the Xiao family and the Jun family. On the other side was the Bailey family. If the D family didn't appear in time to help, the two of them would be in danger today. After Bai Li Yanqi saw Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan, a cold light flashed across his violet eyes. However, the corners of his lips curled into a faint mocking smile. I was wondering who it was. So it's the Holy Maiden of the Light, who has been in the limelight recently. Her aura is indeed extraordinary. Xiao Sou looked at the man in front of her. Regardless of whether it was his appearance or his temperament, she didn't know why, but an indescribable feeling in her heart. She felt that something wasn't right. You injured my Zhao's guards and tried to kill my Xiao family's deacon. Are you trying to bully the Xiao family because there's no one else? Xiao Sou had a ruthless expression on her face. If she allowed this fellow to bully the Xiao family in front of everyone, then where would the Xiao family's face be? I think it's your Xiao family who's bullying others. Bai Li Yanqi sneered. Everyone here knows very well what your Xiao family's deacon has done. Hearing this, Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan looked at each other in shock. The situation seemed to be a little different from what they had imagined. At this moment, Jiang Wenyan spoke up first. Miss Xiao, I can testify to this matter. Your Xiao family's deacon was the one who had tried to harm this young lady. That's why this happened. As soon as he said this, Xiao Sou looked at Jiang Wenyan, then turned to look at Xiao Zhengliang. Her eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Xiao Zhengliang had just assumed his position. Anyone with half a brain would not cause trouble at a time like this. However, Xiao Zhengliang had actually done such a thing in front of everyone. Jun Lingxuan's expression also became strange. He didn't think that Jiang Wenyan would speak up at a time like this. There was no need for that at all. Faced with Xiao Sou's questioning gaze, Xiao Zhengliang couldn't help but lower his head guiltily. Chapter 5306. Damn it! Xiao Sou could not help but curse. She never thought that Xiao Zhengliang would actually do such a thing at a time like this. Wasn't this bringing shame to their family? Not to mention that doing such a thing usually damaged Xiao Zhengliang's image as a deacon. But now that all the major forces were gathered here, even the slightest movement would spread to the ears of all the major forces. Needless to say, today's incident would definitely spread rapidly, bringing shame to the Xiao family. Xiao Zhengliang couldn't help but shudder. He didn't expect that meeting a beauty today would cause so much trouble. If he had known, he would not have dared to do such a thing. Even though her heart was filled with anger, Xiao Sou also knew that now was not the time to be angry. The most important thing was to settle this matter as soon as possible. Then, Xiao Sou turned her gaze to Ling. When she saw Ling, even her eyes could not help but light up. She was indeed an elegant lady. No wonder Xiao Zhengliang would disregard his status and do such a thing. Miss, I apologize on behalf of Xiao Zhengliang for what he has done to you. Xiao Sou walked in front of Ling. However, he did not really hurt you, and you have already taught him a lesson. Let's drop this matter, and we will not pursue it any further. Even though Xiao Sou was apologizing, her attitude was still condescending. In her opinion, she was not only the eldest daughter of the Xiao family, but also the Holy Maiden of the Light World. It was already very good that she could apologize. As for anything else, It was simply impossible. Hearing that, Ling looked coldly at Xiao Sou. Her calm expression did not change at all. According to Miss Xiao, if we don't stop now, how do you want to pursue it? Ling Er's face was filled with a mocking smile, and she did not hide it at all. When she heard Xiao Sou apologizing to her, she was a little surprised. After all, according to her understanding, Xiao Sou was not such a person. As expected, this apology was not at all apologetic. On the contrary, it was filled with arrogance. If she had accepted it, she would not be Ling Er. You should at least show some sincerity in your apology. Seeing Miss Zhao's attitude, I can understand why Xiao Zhengliang is so overbearing. Bai Li Yanchei's eyes were filled with disdain. He slowly walked to Ling Er's side and stared coldly at Xiao Sou without any intention of avoiding the sharp edge. Xiao Sou did not expect Bai Li Yanchei and Ling Er to be so unyielding. Logically speaking, given her status, her willingness to apologize. This in itself. However, the two of them did not give her any face at all. This made her feel very embarrassed. Jun Lingxuan's expression turned cold when he saw this. It seems that you're not willing to reconcile. If you want to reconcile, you should at least show the right attitude. Who would be willing to accept such an apology? Bai Li Yanchei sneered. The disdain in his eyes became even more obvious. Do you think that everyone will have to give in to you just because you're about to become the holy maiden of the light world? Aren't you a little too shameless? Xiao Sou's expression changed abruptly when she heard this. You. Chapter 5307. When the crowd heard Bai Li Yanchei's merciless ridicule toward Xiao Sou, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Even though both parties were rivals, these words were rather delightful. Even though Xiao Sou's current status was not simple, and there were many cultivators who were chasing after her, everyone was still rather unhappy regardless of whether it was out of jealousy or disdain. However, it was not appropriate for them to say such things out loud. Now that someone had said it, they naturally felt relieved. Who are you? Xiao Sou calmed down. At the very least, she had to find out who these two fellows were. Since they had dared to speak to her in such a manner, their identities were probably not simple. However, Ling Er only stared coldly at Xiao Sou, and did not even have the slightest interest in speaking. Speaking another word to this kind of person would be a waste of time. Seeing this, Xiao Sou's face turned even more ashen. Jun Lingxuan noticed that Xiao Sou was about to lose control of her anger, so he turned towards Jiang Wenyan and asked, Young Master Jiang, are these two your friends? Jiang Wenyan looked at Ling Er. This was the first time they had met, and he did not know if they could be considered friends. Just then, Xiao Zhengliang walked towards Xiao Sou's side and said, Eldest lady, these two are from the Bailey family. Bailey family? Xiao Sou was slightly stunned. She then looked at Bai Li Yanchei and Jun Lingxuan with a complicated look in her eyes, and her expression turned even gloomier. You're from the Bailey family? She had long heard about Bailey Hongzhuang becoming the head of the Bailey family. She had initially been suspicious of this, because it was simply too baffling. However, looking at their attitudes now, she began to believe it. If it were not for her relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang, these two would never have dared to treat her with such an attitude. Do you think you're so great just because Bailey Hongzhuang is the head of your family? Speaking so arrogantly, do you really think no one can teach you a lesson? Xiao Sou immediately unleashed the power within her body. If the other party had not been a member of the Bailey family, perhaps she would not have done so. However, when she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang, she felt a strong urge to kill these two fellows. Bailey Hongzhuang had made her sullen for so long, so she had to make Bailey Hongzhuang unhappy. Miss Xiao, you're really impressive. A cold and mocking voice rang in everyone's ears. Then, everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching slowly walking into the encirclement. Previously, they had been staying in the corner, and the commotion here was too big. So many people didn't notice them. Now that the two of them had appeared, everyone's expression became more and more interesting. Isn't this young Master D and his wife? I didn't think that they would be here too. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. This is going to be a good show. Xiao Sou's words were obviously directed at Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Soa was shocked when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's sudden appearance. She never thought that the two of them would appear so coincidentally. Could it be that these two fellows have been here for a long time and have been hiding to watch the show? Thinking back to what she had just said, her expression became a bit awkward. I'm the head of the Bailey family. If Miss Xiao has any problems, please direct them to me. Chapter 5308. Jun Lingxuan was a little surprised when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. Previously, they had not heard that the Bailey family had arrived in the piercing wind city. Xiao Soa straightened her expression and eased the awkwardness from before. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're here. If we didn't come, I'm afraid that eldest Miss Xiao would target the Bailey family? Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite and beautiful face was filled with a cold smile. She did not intend to change the topic just like that. Xiao Soa's eyes flashed slightly. She had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be in the vicinity. The words she had said previously were too targeted, and she did not know how to smooth things over since the other party refused to let go. Miss Bailey, So had only said those words because she was too angry. You don't have to take it to heart. Jun Lingxuan immediately tried to smooth things over. Although they were already on opposite sides, it would not be good if the matter was blown out of proportion in such an unreasonable situation. I think that eldest Miss Zhao's words do not seem to be joking. Elder sister. Bai Lianche and Linger walked over to Bailey Hongzhuang's side when they saw her. Hearing how Bai Lianche addressed her, the crowd was slightly stunned. Then, they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty, and suddenly felt that it was normal for Bai Lianche to be so heaven-defying. This Bailey Hongzhuang brother and sister's looks are really devilish. I want to ask if they have any other siblings in their family. The boy is really handsome and the girl is beautiful. These are nothing. In my opinion, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's child will be the real devilish one in the future. Once these words were spoken, the crowd's eyes lit up. With Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's devilish looks, their child will definitely be outstanding. Who knows how devilish that child will be? Xiao Soa saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was not going to let it go and her face turned gloomy. She was already very unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang, and this girl kept on provoking her. How could she not be angry? Bailey Hongzhuang, you're deliberately looking for trouble. Her cold voice was mixed with anger and questioning. Ever since she met Bailey Hongzhuang, she knew that this girl was a wolf in sheep's clothing. You've wronged us. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. You should be clear about the ins and outs of the matter. It was your Xiao family that was in the wrong first. In front of so many people saw it clearly. Now you want to blame it on us? Isn't that too much of a sophistry? Even if you want to find a reason, you should find one that makes sense. Di Beichen calmly added a stab, making Xiao Soa speechless. You. Xiao Soa's face was full of anger. This matter was not like what Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang had said. However, she was not in the right from the beginning. In addition, these two people were good at talking, so the more she said, the more unreasonable she was. Such a person can actually become a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. I've long heard that the Xiao family can cover the sky with one hand in the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Now I believe it. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. She looked so regretful that it was as if the Xiao family was trash. My sister is the Saint of Light. The Radiant Sacred Assembly naturally listens to my sister. What can you do? Chapter 5309. Following Xiao Sudong's words, the expressions of everyone present changed. Although they understood that this was indeed the case, Xiao Sudong had said it so bluntly. This showed that he had no respect for the president of the Holy Assembly. Jun Lingxuan could not help but frown when he heard this. It was fine for them to say such things in private, but to say it in front of so many people, it would not sound good if word got out. He could not help but look at Xiao Soa. At a time like this, it would be best for him to restrain himself. However, Xiao Soa did not care about this at all. She was the holy maiden of the holy light. Although in theory her position was slightly inferior to the president's, in reality, even the president could not do anything to her. She wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know that her status was no longer ordinary. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang had become the head of the Bailey family, her influence could not be compared to hers. She was now someone that Bailey Hongzhuang could not reach. You don't have to say such things to provoke me. Now in the Holy Assembly, my influence is not something you can imagine. My position is not something that you can influence with just a few words. Xiao Soa's lips curled into a complacent smile. She stared straight at her as if to say, "What can you do to me? Then I hope you can sit firmly on this seat. If something happens midway, and you fail to successfully sit on it, wouldn't that be a waste of your current arrogance?" Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Compared to her usual faint smile, her smile at this moment was particularly seductive. It carried a sense of bewitchment and threat, causing Xiao Soa to feel uncomfortable for no reason. She felt as if something bad was about to happen. Isn't that obvious? Xiao Sudong rolled his eyes. My elder sister was already the successor of the Holy Maiden many years ago. Who else can shake her position? Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged, and did not say a word. Let Xiao Soa be proud of herself for a while. The more proud she was now, the uglier she would be when she fell. That's hard to say, considering the way you guys do things that don't distinguish between public and private matters, Bewitching said lightly. As soon as he said this, Xiao Sudong and Xiao Soa's faces turned ashen. Jiang Wenyan, however, chuckled and looked at Bewitching playfully, giving him a thumbs up. Brother D, you really know how to hit the nail on the head when you speak. Great minds think alike. Xiao Soa could no longer control the anger in her heart when she saw the two of them mocking her in front of her. Don't talk nonsense here. It's not up to you to criticize me. You're thinking too much. We're not interested in judging you. Bewitching's eyes darkened. What kind of explanation are you going to give us about Xiao Zhongliang flirting with Ling? Explanation? Xiao Soa frowned. Jun Lingxuan took a step forward, his eyes full of disdain. Why should we give you an explanation? Brother-in-law, there's no need to be polite to this kind of guy. Just do it. Bai Lianche's eyes were as cold as knives. Based on his character, he would have crippled all these guys. You're right. Bewitching nodded slightly. Since you insist, then we can only see who's the real deal. Chapter 53:10. As Bewitching and the others took their positions, the surrounding cultivators could not help but take 2 steps back and give them some space. The light in their eyes grew even more fervent. This was going to be a good show. Brother D, do you mind if I join in? The corners of Jiang Wenyan's lips curled into a bright smile. His deep gaze turned towards Bewitching. Seeing this, Bewitching's lips curled into a smile, and he tilted his head. Of course. Jiang Wenyan chuckled, and immediately stood next to Bewitching. From the moment he had chosen to stand on the same side as Bewitching and the others, he had already thought about the situation he would face today. Other methods would not be able to make the other party truly believe him. The only way was to let the other party see his sincerity. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze softened. If she had been a little suspicious before, she now believed Jiang Wenyan. They had always been very friendly towards their friends. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Soa looked at each other. They could not believe that Jiang Wenyan would actually make such a choice. Logically speaking, this matter had nothing to do with Jiang Wenyan at all. Putting aside the fact that this fellow had gotten himself involved, by the looks of the situation, he was going to declare war on them together with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. What on earth was going on? Since when did young Master Jiang and young Master D have such a good relationship? I've never heard of it before, but the fact that young Master Jiang is willing to stand out at a time like this shows that their relationship is close enough. The Xiao family's influence is clearly greater now. I really don't understand why he would make such a choice. The crowd looked at each other. As the young master, Jiang Wenyan's actions did not only represent himself, but the entire family. This was a major piece of news. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. A battle was about to break out. Even though this was the Xiao family's territory, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not afraid at all. However, at this moment, a dignified female voice rang out. So what's going on? Hearing this voice, Xiao Soa's eyes instantly lit up. Before she could turn around, Tong Yinshu's figure had already appeared in her line of sight. Master, Tang Yunshu slowly walked to Xiao Sou's side. She looked at Xiao Zhengliang, who was still bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and then looked at Bewitching and the others who were about to make a move. Her expression turned cold, and there was a hint of anger. Say Wu, are they bullying you? Xiao Sou shook her head and whispered into Tang Yunshu's ear. After hearing how Xiao Sou addressed her, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that this woman should be the vice president of the Holy Light Assembly, Tang Yunshu. This Tang Yunshu was clearly a beauty. Time seemed to have treated her exceptionally well, not leaving many traces on her face. On the contrary, she exuded the unique charm of a mature woman, very attractive. Looks like the rumors are true. Tang Yunshu is indeed extremely protective of Xiao Sou. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. Jiang Wenyan spoke up as well. Tang Yunshu has remained unmarried all these years and practically treats Xiao Sou as her own daughter. She's not just a little protective of her. Over the years, in order to help Xiao Sou successfully ascend to this position, who knows how much effort she has put in? Di Beichen nodded gently and his gaze deepened. If Hong Zhuang were to become the holy maiden of the holy light, this Tang Yunshu would definitely be a problem. Chapter 53:11. Xiao Zhengliang could not help but gulp when he felt those sharp gazes. He lowered his head guiltily, not daring to meet their gazes. He understood that when he returned today, he would not be able to avoid being punished no matter what. I already understand the situation. The reason why you're not letting this go is because you feel that we have not punished Xiao Zhengliang. You can rest assured that since he has done such a thing, we will definitely punish him. Tang Yunshu stepped forward. Her calm voice was extremely calm, but it was as if she was announcing a verdict, not allowing anyone to refuse. Seeing Tang Yunshu's imposing manner, Bailey Hongzhuang rolled her eyes. Like master, like disciple, these two's style of doing things was very similar. Vice President Tang, if you take him away like this, how would we know if he has not been punished? Bai Li Yanchei's voice was cold. He did not believe that this guy would receive any serious punishment after being taken away. It was obvious that they were just doing it half-heartedly. If I say he will be punished, then he will be punished. Do you think I would lie to you? Tang Yunshu's face was ashen. These juniors dared to question her words like this. That's hard to say. Ling Er said indifferently. Jiang Wenyan also spoke up. Could it be that your radiant sacred assembly is supporting this kind of person to be a deacon? That's just too unreasonable. Then what do you want to do? Tang Yunshu's eyes were filled with haze. Her cold appearance was filled with anger, but she still suppressed it. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. It's very simple. As long as we remove this guy from his position as a deacon, this matter will end here. Originally, she wanted to help Shi Hongqiao take back his position as a deacon, but she thought that she would only be able to do so after she had obtained the position of Holy Maiden. She never thought that Xiao Zhengliang would offend them of his own accord. Naturally, she had to grab this opportunity. If Shi Hongqiao was supported back to his original position before this, then it would be much easier for him to deal with this matter. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Sou and Tang Yunshu's expressions changed. They had done everything they could to find a reason to support Xiao Zhengliang to this position. He had only been a deacon for a few days. If he lost his position, wouldn't they become a joke? Xiao Zhengliang's face was also pale. He had fought for this position with great difficulty. It was a very lucrative position. Not only did he have money, but he also had power. Ever since he became a deacon, his position was very different from before. If he was kicked out of his position, then he would not accept it. Impossible. Xiao Sou refused without hesitation. Tang Yunshu also spoke up. This is a matter of our radiant sacred assembly. There's no need for you to worry about it. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone sighed. I knew that Xiao Zhengliang was able to become a deacon because of shady dealings. Now it seems obvious. To be to two? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold. According to Vice President Tang's words, you're planning to leave without doing anything? What else do you want? Tang Yunshu also recognized Bailey Hongzhuang. It was Bailey Hongzhuang who had caused Xiao Sou to be unable to eat or sleep well these days. Naturally, Her attitude was not good. Let's go. It's not that easy to leave. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.